Hi, I'm Roxanne Richardson, and this is Technique Tuesday. In this video, I'll be demonstrating how to get the stretchy twisted cast on. That's often called the German twisted cast on, or the old Norwegian cast on, or the Maine cast on, using just one strand of yarn rather than two strands. There are always multiple ways of getting to the same endpoint in knitting, and for every one of the techniques that can get you to that same endpoint, there will be advantages and disadvantages of one over one of the others. For the single strand twisted cast on that I'll be demonstrating today, there are a couple of advantages. There's no need to measure out or estimate the amount of tail needed before you do the cast on. You can work the cast on in pattern, whether that pattern is knit 1 purl 1, knit 2 purl 2, or any other knit purl combination. The two-strand method, the German twisted cast on, twists to the right. With the single twist cast on, you can choose whether to twist to the right or the left. So I will be demonstrating both of those. And then at the end, we'll take a look at these swatches. The blue ones are the left twisting and the pink ones are the right twisting, with one of them being the standard German twisted cast on, so that we can compare the results and you can decide how you might want to play with them. So let's get started. We're going to start with the right twist, so that's going to produce the edge that replicates the standard German twisted cast on. So we're going to start with a slip knot and we put it on the needle. Now you can do the cast on with the needle in your right hand and the yarn in your left hand, or you can do it the opposite. So I'm going to show you both ways. So if you have the needle in your right hand, you're going to take the working yarn and the yarn that's attached to the ball, like this, so that you've created a loop with some tension. You're going to point toward yourself, and then you're going to twist until you're pointing at yourself again. So as you go upwards, see how it's crossing to the right? We've got one cross, and now we've got two crosses. And we want to maintain that. So when the yarn is in your left hand, you're going to come through the front in order to preserve those two loops that you see crossing there. And that's a full twist. Your fingers back through here again. You twist again until you're pointing at yourself again. Go through the front. When you tighten up the stitches, you want the twisted loop to come up to the needle, but not super tight. You're not trying to strangle anything here. You're trying to produce an edge that's going to be stretchy, and it's not going to be stretchy if you take every ounce of slack out of it. So leave enough space. As much space between the stitches as the yarn is thick is a good rule of thumb. So again, point it toward you, up and around till it's back. Pointed at you again, come through the front in order to preserve those loops, and then do it again. So you can do that until you have as many stitches as you need. Now if you prefer to handle the yarn with your right hand, again you're going to create a loop like this, and this time when you point at yourself, things are going to be a little bit reversed. You're going to go downward. Again, you're looking at that right cross, and again till you're up, pointed at yourself, and then you're coming in through the back in order to preserve those loops. So you can confirm that you've got the two loops crossing that strand there. So I'm pointing at myself, come around, grab it like this. So one of the things that happens is that you're going to be most likely losing twist in the yarn as you're casting on, and that's because most commercial yarns have a twist you can see is angled to the left, and when you're twisting your loops so that they twist to the right, you're taking some of that twist out. So the more stitches you add, the looser this is going to be, but you can dangle your needle. You can hang this, above so that the needle dangles in the air, and this will twist around and it will add some twist back into it. So if you find that you're really losing twist, you can dangle the needle and it will gain some of that twist back. So I'm going to cast on, I want 32 stitches altogether, and I don't count my slip knot. That's just an anchor. It's not a stitch. So I'm going to cast on until I have 32 stitches. So if I'm knitting flat, I'm going to work across all of these stitches, and then this last one was a slip knot, and I'll just let that fall off the needle. But if I want to knit in the round, this will be in my right hand, but I'm going to knock the slip knot off first and then work that first cast on stitch first. All right, so I'm ready to work in the round. I'm going to knock that slip knot off the needle. I can just pull that out. And now I can get ready to join in the round. Now when you have a right twist, the leading leg of the stitch is hanging over the back of the needle. And it's always the leading leg that we want to knit into. We want to preserve these two twists. You can see these two right here. We want to preserve those. We don't want to lose any, but we don't want to gain any either. If we were to work through the front here, we would get another twist, and it would remove some of the slack that we've built in order to make this a stretchy edge. So we're going to go through the back. So if you want to exactly replicate the German twisted cast on, you will knit across all of the stitches in the row or the round, and then on the following row or round, then you would switch into whatever knit purl stitch pattern you wanted. But if you want this edge to be in pattern all the way to the edge, you can work in your knit purl pattern now. So let's say we were doing knit 2, purl 2. We would knit 2 stitches again through that back loop in order to preserve the twist. And then we would purl into these. And again, we need to purl through that leading leg, which is the one over the back. So I'd come through that back loop in order to twist it. Or in order to not twist it, to keep it exactly how I want it. So then you could work in your pattern, and you would have every one of these edge stitches in pattern. So this is something that you don't see in the standard German twisted cast on. So with the standard German cast on, you are doing both of the first and second round at the same time. And so you end up with the twisted loops under the needle and a row of live stitches on the needle. So that twisted row has actually been knit the entire round. But you don't have to do that when you're doing the single strand cast on. You can actually knit or purl those cast on edge loops. So with the left twist, we start the same way. We start with a slip knot on the needle that does not count as a stitch. And once again, we can hold the needle in our right hand and the yarn in the left, or vice versa. This time when we create the loop, we want it to twist left. So if we have our setup like this, in order to get the left twist, we go down. So you can see it's twisting left. And again, once you come up and it's pointed toward you, then you can put it on the needle. In order to preserve this twist, you would come in from the back. Again, for a left twist, you're going to swing down until you come back, and you're pointing at yourself again, and then you're coming in through the back. So you're trying to preserve the amount of twist that you have always when you're getting it on the needle. If you're holding it in your right hand for the left twist, you're going to have to go up. And we're going through like this. So you want to go up, twist around. The other thing about the left twist is that instead of losing twist in the yarn, you're going to be gaining it. You can let the needle dangle and it will take out some of that excess twist. So once again, I'm going to cast on 32 stitches, and then I'll show you how to work the first row. So I have 32 stitches on the needle. Once again, I have the choice of working all of these, the first row around, as knits before I get into my stitch pattern, or I could work this in pattern with a little bit of a caveat. For the left leaning twist, you can work through the front loop because the twist is just facing in the opposite direction as the right twist. You can go into a plain knit purl pattern for that first round. If you want to do something like a twisted rib pattern where the knits are twisted through the back, you're not going to do that in this first row because, again, just like if you had knit through the front of the right twisting, you're going to add an extra twist. So this is going to twist left on its own, and it will blend perfectly with twisted knit, but you would have to work the knits of the first row around as regular knits, not as twisted. But again, you can work all of the stitches through the front. So let's say we did want to do some kind of a knit one, purl one pattern, whether it was regular knit one or twisted. We can just knit or purl all the way across. And we want to make sure as we're knitting that we're not pulling our needles apart from each other, because that's going to take all of that stretch and that we've built into the edge, and it's taking it out, and it's just going to accumulate as you go across the row. So you want to be ginger about this when they come off the needle. You're just letting it off the needle. You're not pulling your needles apart from each other. And that will preserve that slack in the twists and between the stitches, and it won't remove it. So I'm just going to work across knit one, purl one all the way. And if we look at these twists right here, because it's twisted to the left, it already looks like it was a knit through the back loop. So that's why we just can knit this first row without adding additional twist to it. If you'd like to explore more ways to create stretchy, twisted cast-ons, I have this video over here which demonstrates a bunch of different ways to produce the two-strand version of the twisted cast-on. And down here, I have a recent video for a double twist cast-on that stores even more stretch in the cast-on edge than the technique I demonstrated today. If you have any comments or questions about today's video or suggestions for videos you'd like to see in the future, you can leave those down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.